All right, I'm here at the Iceland's Eistnaflug festival here with Max and Iggor Cavalera. How you guys doing today?
Good, good.
Great. Good to be here.
Not too jet lagged? You're feeling okay?
Yeah.
You might be a little bit.
Yeah, because I played last night in France, so it took me a lot of hours to get here, like 3 different planes and vans, and so just arrived now, so I'm a bit more, but after a few coffees before the show, we'll be fine.
You'll be ready to bash.
Yeah.
Ready to bash. So obviously we want to talk about Roots, because you're playing Roots, and the thing to me that's the most significant about Roots is that there were a lot of bands in the 90s who were trying to sort of relate to the new generation of metal fans. They didn't do it very well. Like Slayer, had Diabolus in Musica. Halford made like an industrial album and things like that. And I find that Roots really was the only album to sort of bridge this sort of gap between sort of classic metal and the sort of the new wave of metal that was coming out of young people at the time. Is that something that was sort of intentional, or is that like a happy accident at the time, do you think?
Yeah, more like an accident. We just thought about doing a different record and try something new. We've been doing that on the other records. Like Arise was very different from Chaos. On Chaos we decided to slow down and kind of change the formula a little bit, and it was a really, really cool record for us. And we had the idea, experimentation on Chaos already with some percussion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That gave birth to the idea of making a full-on Brazilian inspired record, that's what Roots is.
Roots, obviously, metalheads can be very passionate, sometimes too passionate, and as many people who love Roots, of course, there's people who, are think it's controversial. But what about people in Brazil, and what about people who, are into the sort of cultural aspects? Is this something that was easily accepted by people at the time, to have these more traditional aspects blended into the music? Was there any resistance that way?
No, especially because we touched on something that it's very special, which was recording with the Chavantes tribe, and that in Brazil, it was a big impact also for any musicians at the time to do that kind of collaboration. Mm-hmm. So I think in that sense, the album already had a lot more of like a positive vibe from that, from us paying tribute of the real roots of Brazil, which they were there before anybody else. So I think from that stage, I think it became more easier for people. Of course, we still did all the stuff that we did, like with the aggressive music and distortion. It was not like a world music record. Right. It was still a metal record, but it had those elements. So I think that in that sense, it was very positive in Brazil.
Now, of course, like people talk about the new metal connection with Ross Robinson and the album. And Max, last time we spoke, you didn't necessarily have a lot of kind things to say about the new metal movement the last time you and I spoke, even though in the distant past you've been a bit more warm to it. But I feel that Roots, more than any other record by a real classic, well-known band, was more so legitimizing new metal than any other band that had come before, because you had all these young bands, and then you had you guys saying, look, we all have to sort of be open-minded, so looking back on that now, how do you feel about that genre, especially now that it's become a bit more accepted again in the last few years? Is it still like a little uncertain, or do you have any warmness towards that at all?
I just don't like what became, and like I still like the I think like the Deftones, System of a Down, sure. Those are great records, but when it became a real pop melodic, for me, it's not metal,
No, and it was too much, of course, like a formula.
Gimmick, yeah.
Yeah, so in that sense, I think, like anything else, if it becomes like a formula that people try to repeat over and over, it does become boring, and I think and saturated a lot of the market and everything, and that's one of the reasons that I think it got such a bad rap at one point. But like Max said, from those times, like like the Deftones and stuff like that, still great records.
Right.
You know? So there is some positives out of it.
So some of it was good, and some of it got a bad rap because it was full of bad rap, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, like literally.
Yeah, literally.
Had a lot of bad rap going on.
So the next thing I want to know, you've been doing this tour for a little while. Like, how does it feel? And especially Igor, for you, you know, when Max started Soulfly, he was playing these songs still, and now you've sort of joined him, and you know, it's sort of become full circle. You know, what's especially for you though, what's the main difference that you feel now playing these older songs compared to, you know, when you first played them?
Actually, to be fair, when we did the Roots tour right after the album, it was so much turmoil going on in our lives that I didn't get to enjoy as much as I do now. Like, even the fact that we dissect and play the whole record from beginning to the end,
Yeah.
it made me realize how much of a good record it is in my view, more than before. So I think it's a lot more pleasurous to do it now than back then. Even though, like, when we're doing like this massive tours for Roots, I don't think I enjoy myself as much as I am right now,
Yeah.
which is, you know, something that for me, I think it comes with age also.
Yeah.
Learning how to deal with certain things. So I'm having a blast playing this record. But also, I think something that is very important is that at the same time we're doing this Roots tour, we also just finished the Cavalera record, the new one. So I think that for me it's a good balance of doing something that represents a lot about our past, but also looking forward into the future. So I think those two things make me very happy as a person and as a musician. So there's the past and the future going on at the same time, and for me that's perfect, you know.
So, Max, you've been performing these songs in different variations over the years, and Sepultura songs and Soulfly songs, and it's all mixed together. Is there a difference in terms of how you feel when you're on stage playing like an older song, whether it be Soulfly or playing it with your brother? Like, are there different feelings, or for you is it sort of like muscle memory at this point?
No, it's a special feeling, especially with Igor doing this Roots thing. This Return to Roots is very special, you know. It's special because I think, like, for a lot of people, they want to hear with the original drumming and the original vocals, and that's what we gave it to them. And a lot of people couldn't be there when Roots came out. They weren't around, they weren't even born, you know. So for a lot of people that missed that, this is an opportunity to get as close to that as it was. And we're playing, like Igor said, the whole record from beginning to the end.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. Like, even stuff like It's Sorry, Igor's does with the drums, and it's killer. I love it. You know, it's a great. I get a great rush of adrenaline and really great feeling throughout the whole show. You know, but I'm a musician. I live for music. I love music, so I'm so excited for future projects. Like the new Cavalera is a beast. It's incredible. It's like one of the most phenomenal things I've done in my whole life. I'm so proud of it. We work with this guy Arthur, who is a new producer, and he brought the best of us.
Yeah.
That could come out. He got that out of us in a way that nobody else was able to do quite like this before.
Yeah.
So I think this new record is gonna surprise a lot of people. When the new Cavalera record comes out, it's gonna blow minds, and so for me, that's what really motivates me. And I think part of why the Cavalera record is so killer is because we came from the Roots tour into the studio.
Right.
So we got the energy and adrenaline from the Roots tour right into the studio. That was like the greatest formula to make a record. The excitement of the Roots tour it went right into the studio for the Cavalera record. So we look forward to for next year, hopefully do a big tour for the Cavalera record.
So that actually leads to sort of my next question, in that, like, I feel like there's a lot of pressure on both of you to sort of make thrash music. There's a lot of people like, oh, we want this in this box, like that. So does Roots at all, or at least that style that you wrote in the time, still have influence on the music that you write now? Because like I said, I feel like people are always wanting you to make like a retro album, you know?
Well, I think the new Cavalera is a retro album, but it's also modern at the same time, which I think is great. But it's got the spirit of the old vibe. It's kind of hard to explain, but we capture something like lightning in a bottle type thing, you know. And you only do that sometimes. It doesn't happen all the time. And it's when it happens, it's great, you know. And we did with this record. But there's a lot of stuff like noise that's really modern that I think is like right now.
Okay.
I think is not just a trash album. It's still going to the future, you know.
And on my part, there is some influence from Roots on this, which is again me going deep into like the percussive side.
Yeah.
Which just right before we did this Cavalera record, I went to Africa to do some projects there to teach kids on music producing.
Wow.
And then I collected a lot of sounds like I always do, like I research a lot on especially on drums. So some of that stuff, it is on the new Cavalera record. So it's almost like, even though like it doesn't have so much to do musically with what I did with Roots, but the idea of bringing back some of those elements, it's in here. So it's quite cool. You know, there's a lot of crazy stuff, even like stuff that I record in the jungles in Africa, like sounds.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, like soundscape.
Cool.
It's part of the record.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah. So there's a lot of crazy.
Some kind of an instrumental song. It's really cool. Like one of my favorite things on the album. And we got a song also with Justin from Godflesh. It's insane because I love Godflesh.
Yeah.
And Justin doesn't do a lot of stuff outside.
No.
Godflesh. So when me and Igor invited him, Igor hit me up, hit Justin up, and he was so nice and so honored to be part of this record.
And the funny thing also is like he's singing very like kind of like Street Cleaner, like the first when me and Max fell in love with Godflesh without asking. It was just natural. Like we just sang the song. He's like, hey man, you want to do it? We didn't know what kind of vocals
we didn't
would do
you
it.
gotta sing like Street
Right.
Cleaner.
No, not at all.
But that's what you were hoping for.
We were hoping. You were like,
But he did, and then you know, again, I wrote him back, and I was like, man, you just absolute kill on this. It's like me and Max, you know, we had before on Cavalera certain guests that it's like a personal thing, like we had with Roger from Agnostic Front,
one of my favorites,
which is like our heroes. You know, Justin, he comes from the whole scene in Birmingham with Napalm Death, Carcass, and all that stuff, and he was already like such a futuristic looking person musically, doing all that crazy stuff with Godflesh. So for us to have him being part of this, it was very special.
So to close off, you're talking about your travels, and was that charity work, by the way, the music?
Yeah, it was through some people in Manchester. I live in London, so they invited me to come to Uganda and teach kids music producing. So me and my wife, we were there for 10 days, and we only worked with like people from different refugee camps from Congo, and then I got to play some drums with them and learn some stuff also. So
and
that was
provide them the technology to
yes.
do this.
And then at the end of this, like each person from a different community, they had a computer with Ableton Live, the software, so they can start producing music there.
That's awesome.
So that was the idea behind. But then again, it's something that I do very low key.
Right.
You know, it wasn't about showing off.
Sure.
But it's important to say that these people, they need art there, you know.
But that sort of brings me into my last question, and that I think one of the main things that Sepultura and Soulfly and Cavalera Conspiracy have all been known for is bringing not just metal but music to places where other people don't bring music, and whether it be third world countries or other things. And so you're here in a very small country playing a very small festival for people who are really excited to see you. I mean, how important is that still today to make an effort to put yourself in these places, not necessarily for financial gain, but just to get music out there? Is that something that you consciously do?
I mean, we were pretty much pioneers in a lot of those places. By being a band from Brazil, from a third world, when we got invited to play places like the first Russian tour we did, where no band has been to a lot of those
Right.
places, or Indonesia.
Yeah.
So we felt like that was like us breaking barriers, and of course here it's very special for us. It's a place that we never performed before. So when we had the chance, the invitation to come, right away we made sure that it was gonna happen, because it means a lot to us to go to those places.
Of course, that Indonesian concert is quite famous
Yeah.
/ infamous now. Do you ever encounter any issues like that in any other places that you play today?
Not as much, like, of course now, a place like, even like a lot of places in Central South America, bands are doing a lot more tours. It became a lot easier, let's put it that way.
Because you did it in the first place.
Well, like in the late 80s, 90s, to go to those places, it was pretty much crazy on our part, and also like very ambitious from the promoters at the time to bring us. Then again, it's amazing that we did it. It's part of our history.
Guys, thank you so much for speaking to me. I wish you all the best tonight, and
Thank you,
hope
man.
you enjoy your first
you,
performance in
man.
Iceland. And do you have any final words for people to let them know how excited you are about the new Cavalera record, and what would you like to say to them right now?
Man, check out the new Cavalera album. Is a beast. It's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, and we are so happy and proud to be here in Iceland. We're gonna give you the best roots show experience of your life. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.